Today's guest is Brian Winningham. He's the owner of Field Driven Lean. So, Brian, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to you. It's quite an honor.
Yeah, I mean, before we pressed record, you were reading a report and you said the findings were terrible. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I read an article in Construction Dive, which I get a lot of those kind of a lot of that kind of mail, just like everybody else in the industry does. And I think it came out. Uh, I see what the date is on it. Oh, it's today. So, but the Equal Opportunity, uh, uh, Equal Employment and Opportunity Council, I think EOC, I think that's what that is.
Yeah.
They came out with a report and said that construction stands out from other industries for egregious incidents of harassment. We saw a lot of right after the George Floyd incidents in 2020. We saw job sites being shut down because of nooses and things like that on them. And anybody that's worked in this industry for any amount of time knows that there's tons of racism and things like that in our industry. That's just it drives away really good people that we really need. I saw a report that said we need 69,000 workers in construction right now. Where are they coming from if we're running them all away by treating them like crap? So yeah, that's it's and frankly, it ties into the bigger problem of the mental health crisis we have in construction. Um, the statistics are just glaring and frightening. Uh, the suicide rate for uh, the general public in the United States is about 16 and a half people per 100,000 people. Uh, and for veterans, it's about 33.2 or something like that per 100,000 people. In the construction industry, it's 53.4 per 100,000 people. It's higher than veterans, you know, and it's there's a lot of reasons for that, and I think that a lot of this kind of stuff is the reason for it. The bullying and just the all of the the culture that that we've created that we allow ourselves to have in construction all the time is a big culprit. And a lot of the reason why people start feeling hopeless in their lives and stuff too. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
sorry.
what are the things people are doing to try to right the ship?
I'm seeing more in more companies. I saw Suffolk Construction came out and said, "Hey, OSHA, this is something that we need to." We just had Safety Week not too long ago, and they came out and said, mental health awareness and those kind of things needs to be part of what we're doing. We make sure that most of the larger construction companies make sure that they have someone trained in first aid on their projects because it really makes a lot of sense. We could have someone that we can stop an injury from being really bad if we just have someone that's trained in simple first aid, a day long class, and that's proven that saved people's lives. And we need to do the same thing for mental health. We need, there's a mental health first aid organization out there, and I'll find the link and share that with you, and we can put it in the notes or whatever. But there's organizations like that out there, and it's not cheap to go get that. But I think it's important that we start looking at those kind of things, especially we can't just throw this on safety and say this is a safety deal because it's not. It's everybody in the industry. It's uh, when we have that many, and I know people that have taken their lives, that have died by suicide that are from our industry, and it's awful to have to go to those funerals, and to know that hey, this is someone that my friend, that they're gone now, and I can't ever, they've uh, lost hope to the point where it feels like that this is the only way out to them, and that's sad, and that's we see a lot of the things that happen in construction that really cause this too. We send people out on the road all the time. with away from their support systems, and a lot of times even the folks that are building our jobs, the hands-on folks, they might be out on the road for weeks at a time and maybe not even see their families, especially those that we have that work up here from Mexico and different countries, they may not see their families for months, maybe even just twice a year. And getting away from those support systems, that's a bad, you get bad mental health outcomes from those kind of things. Um, the huge amount of stress that we put on everybody, the amount of money that's involved in construction, people don't realize, I think, that a project manager on a $50 million job is all of a sudden needs to be figuring out a way that he's going to invoice, because that's going to take a year. You need to be able to invoice like 5, 6 million bucks a month. And that's not easy to do. You got to figure all that stuff out, and it plays a role in it, and the amount of money that's involved and the pressure and the schedules and uh, I've I lived part of I was a project manager for many years, and I lived part of my kids' life on the road, away from them. Had an apartment in another city from where my family lived, and things like that. And that's not unusual in construction, and that's that gives us a lot of bad outcomes. But we don't hear about people in law offices going into their law offices with nooses hanging up and things like that we do in construction. And we don't hear about people in hospitals that have to deal with this kind of sexual harassment that goes on construction sites all the time. And just the anger and just the lack of camaraderie that happens all the time. So we've got to start. The culture has to change, I think, from the bottom up and all the way through the whole thing. Just we are at a time when in our history where the worker has a lot of power right now, and I think that we need to make sure that we're asserting that power to make things better for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it's no secret to those who work in the industry that we work 50, 60 hours every week. And that's everybody from the people. Even if you're getting paid for it, that's not good for you over long periods of time. And it's really terrible. The way that something that I wish more and more owners understood of capital projects understood. Every time that work is designed where someone has to get on their knees or work overhead, directly overhead all day long, it's slowing the work down. It's costing you more money. It's ending careers early. It's causing physical pain to these people. If you had to work on your hands and knees every day, it's not how we're meant to work. It's going to cause problems for you later in life. You don't know too many carpenters who don't get their knees replaced or hip, one of the two. So those kind of things. So we've got to figure out ways to make work more equitable, for so that construction starts to represent more what our society looks like, and that we start to look more like what our society looks like. More people of color and more women for sure in our industry, and we've got to find ways to make it so they can do the work, so that it's doable for them. It doesn't have to be so hard that it kills people. Like we kind of got this mentality that the work needs to be hard because we've sort of built it that way, and that's part of that sort of machismo culture that we have that we need to
Yeah.
get rid of.
I mean, what's some of the tactical things that can be done, like you said, from bottom up that you've seen that is working?
Uh, the big things are, I mean, as if you're working on a project site, get to know your people and talk to them, get to know their names and find out what's going on with them, and uh, you know, people are living lives outside of the job. They have things going on. If somebody's not acting in a way that's safe, I wonder if maybe there's something going on. I had a project where I was a project manager one time. We had a gentleman who was on the concrete forming crew, uh, and he was one of their foremen. They had several. It was a big, fairly large job, and but he had several incidents in a row, safety incidents in a row, and like couldn't figure out. But they kept, the framing crew kept saying, this is he's very important to our operations. He knows too much, and we were very tempted to just send the guy on down the road and say, don't come back. But we dug a little deeper. Come to find out, his wife was in the hospital with stage 4 cancer, and he needed to be able to work every day because he had to take care of his family. But he also needed some time to be with his kids and be with his wife, and he didn't need to be in a position where he could hurt himself or other people. And we made sure that he got in that position, and had him doing some other things until some things could stabilize for him, and that worked out. But that was sort of the thing that sort of changed my mind on thinking about things, because before that I'd been pretty much just get rid of them, send them down the road. But that's that sort of changed my thinking on that, and we've got to get down to what are the root causes of some of the things that are going on. And when we do that, in order to do that, we've got to get to know people, and start to make them, make sure that we understand that they have a voice, and that they understand they have a voice in what's going on the project. And um, yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for someone that's working, it may be hard to express some of the things that they need to say. Do you have any tips for people that, are worried about losing their jobs by speaking up?
Uh, yeah, just your life is more important than your job, and that includes your mental health. And I I'm not advocating for anybody to quit their job, because I know how important it is, and how tough things are right now. Prices are certainly not any cheaper than they were last year, for sure. So, but you know, we do have, you do have some power, and sometimes you'd be surprised, if you approach things in the right way without anger, that maybe things can change. Sometimes people just don't know. They haven't considered it. They can't see it from your position until you show them. But you're not going to show somebody by yelling at them, or belittling them, or trying to start a fight with them, or it's not going to be a great way for them to, no one's going to want to learn like that. So, you have to sort of understand them, but if something doesn't feel right, you need to speak up and say something. And I think that, even more and more, that's being accepted and acceptable. And if you've got a great idea, definitely speak up and share it with everybody. But don't be afraid to share that you're going through a hard time. And hey, we all do. It's I think if the last few years have taught us anything, it's that nobody is not susceptible to the stress that we all live under all the time. And it's I think we could, because of those things and all that we've gone through, and we don't need to forget those lessons, in the hurry that we are to finish all these projects. But um, and I think that one of the big things that needs to happen is that contractors need to stop saying yes, to these silly schedule requests by owners that don't understand what even goes into building these buildings. We understand that you need to fund these, and that the money is what it is, but it takes a certain amount of time. I'm sure you guys sell roofing materials, right? Yeah. So what was it, 2021, when it was 9, 10 months to get roofing materials sometimes for projects? I'm sure that was a fun time for y'all.
Yeah, we didn't experience the same issues because of our ingredient set, but yeah, we had our own challenges on certain type of things. So yeah, I know exactly what
Well,
you're talking about.
anything that needed a chip for a while, right? I mean, if you had any kind of yeah, needed computer chip for anything, or any of those kind of things, it was hard to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so that's there's the owners or the leaderships or the people accepting the jobs. There's the environment and speaking up. So now looking at it from, you went through, different project manager roles and stuff like that. I mean, let's say, you're not on the edge of something very bad, but you're stressed. What sort of management things have you figured out to help the stress?
So for me, I meditate every day, and meditation is just, or mindfulness, whatever you want to call it. It's for me, it's something that's required, just because of all the different traumas that I've had in my life that have, some of it has to do with construction and some of it has nothing to do with construction. And all of us go through things, and that's, we all find our ways to do that. But meditation is one, music is another great one. Finding an avenue where you can be creative is really, really critical. And so many construction guys are so creative. And I've seen them build grills and different kind of thing, just out of trash that you have on a job site, and so creative. And I've seen guys that just could, like, they'd take little pieces of wire, just make little figurines out, just all kinds of just different creative things that people do. And it's really, really critical to sort of uh, to do, to sort of embrace that side of yourself. What do you do for your creative side, Tots?
Wow. I mean, I was trying to draw a little, but I see what you mean about the creativity because uses a different part of the brain, right? And
Mhm.
I know I like to think and strategize and plan and stuff like that, and it kind of gives your that part of the brain a break when you're doing something creative.
Oh yeah, it's so critical for, making your brain feel refreshed and feel better. Yeah, I write poetry.
Ooh, nice. How long you been
Yeah,
doing that?
for a long time, but I quit for a long time too. So I don't, not for any specific reason. I don't know, didn't have anything to say for a while. But yeah, that I've got I keep all of my writing together in one place on a blog, on my blog, my personal blog. Even my writing from work is there. So I don't care. It's all me. It's all my stuff. So I've got something actually I'd like to share with you that I'm working on. It's not quite ready to go yet, and
Yeah.
it is a little spicy in the language. Is that all right?
I mean, you just give me the highlights of what you want to communicate.
Well, this is a poem
Oh,
that
yeah. Okay.
that I'm
Sure.
working on right now.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
again,
Great.
the
All
language
right.
is a little spicy at times.
All
So
right. Give it to me.
all right. So in the because of this has started meaning so much to me. Most of my poetry hasn't been about work. I do have a couple of stories that I've written about some stuff that I did at work. One was about when I was 18 and working on a dynamite crew. And there's a story on my blog about that. It's called Lucky Hates Trucks. But this poem is called Traveling Superintendent. So it's something that I've been thinking about lately because of the mental health issues in construction, and just to kind of highlight some of that. So it's not quite done, but it is getting close. So I'll go ahead and share it with you now, and probably the final version will be a little bit different than this. But so it's called Traveling Superintendent. In the construction realm, I'm a force to be reckoned with, a master of my craft in this life I've been beckoned with. Don't use schedule, just tell me the real done date. I will herd these cats using coffee, anger, dip, and hate. Pulling into town, I'm a real bad motherfucker. 1-ton truck, fifth wheel, and my Malinois pucker. Screaming and yelling and cussing apoplectically, slipping into the skin of an asshole unapologetically. No head shed to bind me or to restrict me with rules. To get shit done right, just clamp down on them jewels. Screw them before they fuck you in this cutthroat busy. My motto, get yours first before he can go get hizzy. Using the contract against them each time it suits. Killing local businesses, cutting them off at the roots. I'm not even kidding, and I ain't putting up a front. 2 to 3 of these subcontractors gonna go bankrupt. They say it's a lonely life. They say it's lonely living a life on the road. Have to admit that after a while, it sure tends to get old. Blurring from site to site, year to year, and city to city. Hard to remember, unable to forget, more is the pity. They pay me a lot, and at times it almost feels worth it. 3 wives, 2 kids, 5, no, 6 lives held forfeit. I'm a coward living my life with false whiskey bravado, so it wouldn't take much to make this straw house topple. Lives have been savaged, not the least of which my own. Hate, lies, and pain, just a few of the seeds I've sown. It would be far easier if I could forget how to feel, but instead here I sit, finger itching, sucking cold steel.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
We never had a poem on the show.
Yeah, I actually read a poem at LCI Congress last year too. So I share my poems a little bit. So
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
yeah, thank you. Again, it's still a work in progress, but it'll eventually end up on my blog. So
Um, Brian, is there anything that I did not ask you but you want to share?
no, just I think that it's just so important that we prioritize our well-being, our physical well-being, our mental well-being, and even our relationships and all of those things that really make us healthy, happy, and good, productive folks in our industry. So yeah, thank you for letting me come on and talk about this. It's something I'm very, very passionate about, and we've got to do something. We found ways in the veteran community to sort of combat veteran suicide, and maybe help make a little dent there. But we've got a lot of work to do in construction. We really need to. I don't think enough people are talking about it. We really need to bring it to the forefront.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.